what would be more nerve-wracking to you, that final pit stop like at the Championship 4 race, or a bull elk standing broadside to you in your last afternoon on your tag? Which heart rate is higher?
Oh, that is tough. Probably the bull on the last day.
Hey everybody, welcome into Mics Are Hot. Kaitlyn, Vincie alongside Heather DeBeaux. Third episode, HD.
Three for Dale.
Three for Dale. I like that. Third time's the charm too. We're going to have a great show today. So you've been super busy, as you always are. I know you're always either at a track, in a hotel, on a plane. What have you been doing the last 2 weeks?
Well, it's been fun. A lot of ARCA races, so I've been living that ARCA land dream. Which we only have, I think, 4 to go now, so that's cool. Labor Day weekend, of course, was this past weekend, and I went to DuQuoin, Illinois, and did the dirt track thing, which was cool. And I will tell you, one thing that happened that hasn't happened in a long time, when I flew out there, my flight only had 90 people on it, and it was Southwest, and I had a whole row to myself. So that is a win. Yes.
Wow. That never happens.
It never happens. And I thought, wow. So I was kind of hoping for that on the way back because I only slept for like an hour. So I kind of was like, man, I really need that whole row to like take a nap on the way back to Phoenix.
1 hour.
1 hour.
Of
I know.
Sleep total? Why would that be?
Okay. So, well, we had a night race. So it was from, 8 to 10 p.m. And DuQuoin is a couple hours from St. Louis, and I had a 6:30 a.m. flight. So I drove back to St. Louis that night, got to the hotel about midnight, and then afterwards, I can never unwind. Like after a race, I'm just go. My mind is going, the adrenaline's going. So I had to turn the TV on, and I ended up watching a movie. I ended up watching Greenland, and it's suspenseful, and I couldn't turn away, even though I knew what happened. I've seen it before. Yeah, so I don't think I actually attempted to close my eyes till almost 3, and then flight's at 6:30, you board at 6, so I'm getting up at 4:30 to shower, get ready. So yeah, that's why I had an hour's sleep.
Well, I don't know if you feel this way, but after doing television, doing our shows, it's hard to disengage your brain because you've been so, going, and it's actually really hard to fall asleep after doing shows, I think.
Yes, and I just need to do a better job of, at some point, like turn the TV off, just go to bed.
Commit to turning it off.
Just stop. Yeah. Cause at that point, I mean, I got there at midnight. So by 1 o'clock, I should be going to bed, like I should already be like tired enough to just pass out. But for some reason, I just was on it. I was up and I was hungry too, cause I forgot to eat lunch. I messed my whole day up. So I had to eat snacks from the pantry at the hotel cause nothing else was open. So it was like, I think I got cream cheese and like crackers to like dip, and then
that is the strangest.
Some like veggie sticks and I think a granola bar. I know it was weird, but that's all I had to work with. I couldn't do anything else.
Life on the road, it's glamorous. People don't realize.
Yeah, it's a great time. So yeah, I mean, lack of sleep, but I mean, I got through it, and here we are.
Here you are. That's right.
How was your weekend?
Well, I've been obviously working in the studio, but then I took some time with my kids to go to Hilton Head Island, which was really nice because they hadn't even seen the ocean yet this summer.
Never, or just this is the second time?
Summer,
oh, okay.
Okay. Because we took the off week and went to Colorado, which is snow and mountains. But I wanted to at least let them see an ocean and some sand and get some time at that. So took them down to Hilton Head Island. I've been going there since I was a kid. Every summer we would go there for 2 weeks. It's like kind of a special place for the family. So I want to carry that tradition on with my kids and have them go there as well. So I think they had a good time. I always say that it's no longer a vacation when you have kids. It's a trip.
Yeah. I can only imagine, because I feel like I've always seen families at the beach too. Do you guys have a wagon that you have to put all your stuff in? Like a friend of mine, they just upgraded to like a double decker wagon. So yeah, the double decker.
Wow,
that's a thing apparently. But like, yeah, to bring all their stuff. Like, are you that family, or do you just go with like a towel and sunscreen and we're out there 15 minutes, or do you bring the whole shebang with you?
We didn't. So the house we rented had a wagon for you to use if you needed to. But I don't like to spend a ton of time on the actual beach. It's really hard with small kids. They can dart off into the ocean, and it's just so we would go kind of walk around, let them play in the waves, and then leave and go back to the pool. The pool's a lot more controlled environment, lower stress. But yeah, no wagon. I have not purchased a 2-tier wagon yet. Maybe at some point. That's like I also don't drive a minivan. People are like, "Oh, you drive a van like as a mom?" No. I have not committed to that just yet. May never.
And you don't have to. You don't have to. Because they make SUVs and other things that can carry kids, other large vehicles available. You don't have to be soccer mom minivan if you don't want to.
Things. Exactly. So, but no, it was nice. Blake was even able to join us for a bit. Obviously, the race was in Darlington, so it was only 3 hours from there. So he got to come a little bit. Did his meetings from the beach house, so I could I was doing a little eavesdropping.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure he enjoyed that too, to have like an opportunity to get out of. I mean, there's not much going on in Darlington, South Carolina either. So to even just to change his atmosphere and environment and be able to look out a window at a beach as opposed to I don't even know what wherever they stay in Florence
Florence's finest. So yeah, it's been good. But back to work we go, and it's going to be busy a couple days, I'm sure, for both of us.
Yes, Kansas coming up. It's going to be fun. I like that track a lot. Like Kansas can be windy always, basically, but you never know what kind of weather you're going to get. I think it's supposed to be hot again, which we've dealt with a lot of hot races. So I'm kind of hoping it's not, because I've actually sweat through my shirt a couple times this year, and I just don't want to deal with that. So I'm hoping the weather's nice. Like, can we just get a summer where it's just every race is like 75 and sunny? Can we do that?
Is that possible? Gonna happen.
Okay.
It's 93 here in Charlotte today.
Oh goodness, I haven't even looked because I live in Phoenix, so it's probably let's see. I will look.
I don't know why I'm saying
take
that.
A gander.
Way worse.
98, high of 101 today, but that's cool for us.
98.
A comfortable 98 and sunny.
That is brutal, but I do love Phoenix, so I get why you like it there.
Yes, it is awesome. I love it.
So this is our 3rd episode. We appreciate everyone who's been tuning in and sending us feedback and comments about the shows. It's cool to see people enjoying them. And the theme for today's show is NASCAR Pit Crews Hidden Athletes of Racing, which I love this theme. And our guest today is going to be Jeff Cordero. He is a front tire changer at Hendrick Motorsports on William Byron's team, and he's an awesome human. This is going to be a very fun interview, I think.
Oh, I'm really excited. I not only am excited to talk to him about the pit crew side of things, but also his personal life and some of the hobbies that he's into, which we'll get into later. But yeah, I'm really excited. And you said athletes. I mean, they are the epitome of athletes. A lot of them are, former football players or even other sports, basketball, baseball, track, things like that. And I mean, they are just next level. Like, I would put them on the same list as professional NFL football players, basketball players. Like, as far as their athleticism goes, they are just top notch. So I'm excited to talk to him about that and see what he has to say about being in the playoffs on one of the championship teams that they've been killing it this year. They've been one of the fastest pit crews, if not the fastest, on pit road. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, to your point, William Byron and that whole team have been one of the best teams all season long. It's interesting, too, you're talking about pit crews and the impact they have. And so much of the recruiting process has changed over the years. I know Hendrick Motorsports obviously is one of the main teams that's put a lot of emphasis on recruiting former athletes, whether it is guys from the NFL or MLB or whatever. They're bringing these guys in now for these combines at HMS to try and find the next top tier talent to put on pit road. And I think a lot of people maybe don't realize that. Back in the day, it was like the mechanics also in the shop would pit the cars, right? They had the dual roles. Now it's very separate entities. And I think too, now a lot of teams aren't even sending guys to pit Xfinity and Cup. Like Gibbs Cup guys are pretty much only pitting Cup cars. So it's just changed a lot over the recent years.
For sure. And even like the developmental process, like it's almost kind of similar to baseball, like where you have AAA teams, like Trackhouse, for example. They have a lot of guys that they're developing that are working on, whether it's an ARCA team or a truck team, and they're kind of making them how they want them to be, training them. They're putting a lot of effort into their skills as a pit crew member, and then they will eventually like work their way up into an Xfinity team or the Cup side, or they can use them as backup players, should somebody get injured, then they have a roster they can go to pull from, to be able to like fill that spot should something happen to one of the guys on one of the big teams. So it's pretty cool.
It is cool. And obviously having a well-trained pit crew is just as important as having a very experienced driver, of having a very experienced, solid road crew. I mean, we always say races are won and lost on pit road, but it's true. I mean, you come down to the money stop, and if you have a bad pit stop, that's it. I mean, unless you have a car fast enough to make up the ground that you maybe had lost on pit road. But these guys, I feel like, are under such immense pressure. You know, we've talked about this before when we're down there on pit road during the races, and we're like watching them as they're getting ready to go, and the cars are coming down, and it's a very intense moment. I mean, like, I don't think I would want to do that job. Maybe because I was a former athlete, but it just seems like it would be a stressful position.
Yes. It's one of my favorite things about being on pit road is being in the mix of all that and being able to witness what happens. Like, of course, on a normal pit stop, that's amazing enough to watch, but say something goes wrong, just watching them work as a team to try to fix the issue as quickly as possible. Or, you know, sometimes like air hoses will break, guns will break, jacks will fail. I mean, it's just, there's a lot that can happen, and it's quite dangerous if you really think about it. What they do, they are jumping out in front of cars that are going at least 45 miles an hour at that point, coming to a stop with other vehicles around that they also have to avoid while carrying tires, while carrying a jack. It's a lot going on. So the fact that they can block that all out and do what they do at such a high level is just incredible. It's really neat to see.
If you were on a pit crew, what position do you think you would be?
Okay, I was hoping you would go there, because I actually worked prior to NASCAR. I worked at a tire shop for about 10 years. So I used to sell tires and mechanical and do all that stuff. So I always thought I could definitely be a tire changer, because I'm familiar with that. Or at least a tire specialist. I could do air pressures and tire temps and things like that. But I would love to be a tire changer, because I think you have to be quick, and then you're just using the gun. I mean, you do have to pull the tire off, so there is some, but I mean, carrying two tires, definitely, I'm not built for that. I'm not built to be a jackman or a fueler, so I guess that's my only other option is a tire changer, but I think I could do it. I would like to give it a try, to be honest. I know Jamie Little got an opportunity to do that with Joe Gibbs Racing.
JGR,
and I was so jealous, because she got all geared up. She had the helmet on and the knee pads, and she just looked like a total badass. And just to look badass, I want to do it. So, hey, all my pit crew friends out there,
this should be an easy request. That we get a chance to go pit a car in a practice session.
Hey, I'm not afraid of it. What about you? What would you do?
Probably this. I'll just do the windshield tear off. I'm kidding.
Yes, I think that's a fair. You can hand them the water bottle too, if you want.
There you go. Yeah, someone has to do that. That's an important job. I was a track and field competitive track and field athlete in college ever since I was in 7th grade. I did cross country and track and field. So the speed part, I feel like I would definitely be, like a changer, because I got to run around the car and be quick and agile and nimble-ish. So maybe that's what I would do. I don't know. I agree that I wouldn't be able to do fueling or jackman. That's just, I'm not, there's no way.
I'm curious though. I know I've obviously talked to you about your background as an athlete and a runner, but like, I kind of want to know more, like what made you want to do that, or why'd you quit? Or do you think you could have gone further? Like, were Olympics ever on your mind or anything like that?
No, not really. But I just, from a young age, when we would do PE, I was super fast. I ran a 7:03 mile when I was like 12. So the PE teachers really pushed me to enroll in track and field and to join the team. So I did. And I ended up being pretty good at it. I got recruited at a lot of different universities and stuff. Our 4x4 relay team went to nationals.
Nice.
I was a district champion. There was some good times.
Do you have those trophies?
Fastest mile was a 5:34, which I'm proud of that.
Wow.
I could not do it now. But at the
incredible.
time, I was like, you know what? That's pretty good.
Pretty good. That's awesome. Very good. Nicely done. Yeah. Do you still have your trophies from that?
I do. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. My mom just dropped them off at my house the other week because they moved recently, and she had all of them. So she brought them over. I was like, oh,
yeah. I'm a trophy person too. I like to keep that stuff.
That's fair. Yeah. So Yeah. So
Do you want to see one of my trophies, Kaitlyn?
sure. What do you got?
So I know you've asked me about it before. I have one behind me, but I want to show you this because you've asked what it looks like. So this is my trophy
Yes.
from bodybuilding. So
Bodybuilding.
so back in 2018, I did some bikini competitions. So this is like my little mermaid trophy. I did 3 different shows across that year. My first show, I think I placed 3rd in both the open and novice class. And then by my last show, I won both my classes and competed in the overall, which was basically they divide you up by height and age sometimes, but mainly height. So in the open classes, whoever won that height division then competed in the overall. So it was me and I think 5 or 6 other girls that competed against each other for the whole show. Unfortunately, I didn't win that one. I think I came in 2nd or 3rd, but it was pretty cool. So yeah, I like to keep my trophy for that.
I remember seeing the pictures from your competitions. Very, very impressive. See, we like athletics. These are athletic things. Of course, this makes sense why we're talking about athletes, pit crew guys. Like this.
Yes.
It's all tying together, right?
Yes.
Also, while we're talking about this, I would like to make a formal call to action that we bring back the Pit Crew Challenge when it was held in Charlotte, like at the Spectrum Center. Yep. It was so neat. That was one of my favorite events to watch and go to because we were working at Speed Channel at the time, you and I, and we had to do a bunch of stuff for that. It was a blast. We need to bring that back.
I think that there are a lot of people that agree 100% with you because it seems like every year around the All-Star race, I see it a lot on social media. A lot of fans that are like, bring back the Pit Crew Challenge. And I know we did it at North Wilkesboro, but that was nothing compared to what they used to do. It was a whole event of its own in the stadium, and the teams, like, they had to race each other on the pit stop and then push the cars down. It was almost like a drag race, if you will, which I know they did that in Texas a couple years ago too, but I just think it has so much more effect when the fans are there, and it's like that's the only thing that's happening. There's nothing else happening. We're not at the track with the cup cars and drivers, and really focus it just on the teams, I think is awesome. And it was just so much fun. So much fun.
It was a chance for them to really shine, which I thought was neat. So maybe one day they'll bring it back. Guess we'll find out.
Well,
so
we're putting it out there.
Putting that into the universe. We've asked fans to send in questions for us the last couple of weeks via social media, whether it's on X or Instagram. This question came from Kevtron Media. What's the biggest race event you would love to see that isn't currently happening or at the level you would like? What do you say to that, HD?
Oh, man. I probably should have thought about this a little bit. Biggest race event you would like to see that isn't currently happening. Let's go back to another old track, maybe.
Yes.
I don't know which one would be available, but if we could, let's see, is Rockingham still a thing?
Yes.
Like, I think that would be cool because
I do too.
A lot of people talk about Rockingham. Like, in fact, today we had some conference calls for the upcoming races, and somebody brought that up, and they said, well, Heather, you're probably a little too young to remember that. You probably weren't around that, and you're right, I wasn't. Like, so I almost wish I had a time machine that I could just go back to some events that happened in the past.
I agree.
I think that
honestly,
would be really cool.
After what we saw this year with the revival of North Wilkesboro, I feel like anything's possible. That was one of the most incredible events I've ever been to.
It was really cool.
And so it does make me think there could be some of these other tracks like Rockingham, as you mentioned, that, had a long history in the sport that maybe someday we could return there. I like that one. Yeah. All right. What question do you have?
Well, my question is from Dylan Hutton. He said, does Chase Elliott win before the season ends? He wants to know what we think if Chase can get a win in the final races of the season. You go first.
Yes, for me. I definitely think so. I feel like he'll have even extra motivation to win because they didn't get into the postseason, but there's a lot of good racetracks coming up for him too. And I just think that they're going to be super competitive every week. So I need Chase Elliott to win. I can't go a NASCAR season and not have Chase Elliott win. The fans will be so sad.
I know. That would be sad. I definitely think they can win anytime, honestly. Chase can win literally anytime. So I do. Do you think there's a specific track coming up that you would put your money on him if you had to like bet on it? Which we're not allowed to do, by the way, but just putting it out there, theoretically speaking.
I don't know. Shoot, Kansas, the one coming up. Why not?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Chase Elliott in Kansas, winner.
Winner. Chicken dinner.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Next question happened to come from a family member of mine. Jacqueline Drake, my sister-in-law, said, you walk up to a bar and you have 5 seconds to order. What are you picking? I love this question because I
Okay.
love bars. So this
Gosh, 5 seconds to order. I almost feel like I need to know what bar I'm at and have a little bit of a reference point because I'm a huge margarita person. And so if we're at a Mexican restaurant or a Mexican location,
You're at
I'm gonna
Ocean Deck Daytona race weekend. What are you ordering?
Tito's and Sprite.
There you go. God, I love Ocean Deck. So
The Ocean
fun.
Deck is so much fun. Oh my gosh. A lot of good times had at the Ocean Deck, especially during speed weeks when it was a 2-week thing and you had that Monday, Tuesday
know.
off in between. That was dangerous.
It
Dangerous.
was because everybody would stay. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to continue. But there were many good memories had in that break between those Daytona races.
Yes, for sure. For sure. What's your drink? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What are you ordering?
Jack and Sour. I love that
nice.
cocktail. Yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah.
A lot of people forget about it. It's like whiskey Coke is the one people always say.
Yeah.
Whiskey Sour, though, to me is much better. Tastes better.
Delish.
So yeah,
Delish.
I'm going with
Okay.
that.
You're hardcore.
Good
man.
questions.
I don't think I could do that. Just kidding. Whiskey, I mean, I'll do it, but it's just I don't know, I can't.
No,
I'm not
it's an
cool
acquired
like you.
taste. No,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
No, you're getting the Tito's. That's what's up.
Yes. Very, straight to the point.
And now we are so excited to have Jeff Cordero joining the show. It's great to see you. It's weird to see you not in your uniform on pit road. So this is awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, this is a little bit of a different getup than I usually have, but
It is.
way more comfortable on a hot day.
I can imagine. So that literally brings us
you,
right
man. We picked the right guy because he just transitioned me right into the next question. We were talking about this earlier. It has been a very hot summer. So I know for me, I'm kind of like a dude. I sweat like a dude. I've sweat through my shirts already this year on TV, on camera. Not fun. But what is it like for you wearing all that gear? And then, of course, you guys are competing and you're running around, so you're sweating. So, like, how do you combat that?
Yeah, so I mean, it always seems that with the NASCAR schedule, whenever they come out with it, we go to the hottest places in the country at that time of year. So it's just once the season kicks off, once you get through that West Coast swing, it's just going to be hot all the time. The first really hot day when it gets 85 plus and you're out in the sun and you're just kind of like, oh, I got 6 more months of this. Like, you just kind of get ready for it. Just staying hydrated. Everyone has to deal with the same weather conditions, so it's just a matter of mentally not letting the weather beat you. There's enough competition on pit road already. Once you start beating yourself, thinking about how hot it is or how much you're sweating, it really, it gives your opponents a leg up on you. So if you don't have to focus on that and you can just do the things you need to do, like, hydrate, eat correctly, try to find as much shade as whenever you can, do all those things, you're going to be all right at the end of the day.
So what you're telling me is if I change my mindset, I'm not going to sweat through my shirt. That'll work.
Not at all. You're still going to sweat through your shirt. But
Shoot.
maybe
Darn it.
just try not to think about it so much.
It's good advice, though. I mean, for people listening who maybe want to be on a pit crew, they should be taking all of this in. So I want to start at the very beginning, though, for your career. You went to races as a kid. You also started helping a friend of yours with their race car. Take me back to the very beginning and how you got into all of this and why and what brought you there.
So it all started as pretty much as far back as I can remember. My dad and my grandmother, we used to go to the racetrack all the time. We had the local track, the Waterford Speed Bowl in Connecticut, which is still there, still running 2 nights a week. I used to go there every Wednesday or Saturday with my dad as many times as we could. It was just one of those things that it was just turned into, like, that's what we did on the weekends. We went to the racetrack. And I did that all the way up until I was probably in high school. Once I got into my freshman year of high school, one of the kids I was in class with had a race car. And he's like, hey, do you want to come and help out? And I didn't know anything. Like, I knew how to change oil in a regular car. I could change a tire, but I didn't know how to, like, work on race cars at all. So I just started going, helping out, wiping the car down, getting parts ready, just doing anything I could to not be in the way. And that turned into I was going to the racetrack every weekend, and I was going to the house to work on the race car as many times as I could. And it just snowballed, and it turned into one of those situations where I was going to school, but I wasn't paying attention in school. So I needed to make a decision in life. I'm going to tailor back on the racing and focus on school to get a college degree, or I'm just not going to go to school anymore. I'm just going to drop out, and I'm going to go pursue this racing career because I saw it on TV. I watched a lot of races. I've always followed it. And it was one of those situations where I was like, well, somebody's doing this for a job. Why can't I do it? You know, it's like, it's one of those, you know, follow your dreams and everything will be all right. And it turned out that way for me.
So let's talk about pursuing that, though, because you packed up your stuff in a van at 21 years old, drove from Connecticut to North Carolina to start that journey. But talk about that risk and then exactly what you did to like get yourself on the pit crew.
Yeah, so when I moved down here, I knew a total of 3 people. I had 3 people's phone numbers that I could call, and they weren't really anyone that could get me a job. They were just people kind of in the industry to kind of, you know, bounce ideas off of. I thought about going to NASCAR Tech, NTI, and I kind of was persuaded not to go by some people I knew because I knew too much. They told me I knew too much about race cars. When I go there, I'll learn more about like street cars. It's not the racing that I wanted to do. So I ended up following and finding the Pit Institute, which is right next to NASCAR Tech, the Pit Performance Instructional and Training. I went there, did the 8-week program, and that was kind of my introduction into how to do pit stops and how I'm going to fulfill this career of working on a pit crew. At the time, I was 21 years old. I was healthy. I had no nagging injuries, and it was just, hey, that looks really fun. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, then I'll just go be a mechanic. And if none of this works, I'll just move back to Connecticut and do plumbing and heating because that was like my ultimate backup plan. So it was always one of those I never had anything not to fall back on, but I never planned on falling back on anything. It was always, I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to get it done. I did that for 8 months, just kind of hustling. Kaitlyn, you guys have seen these kids at the racetrack. They're the kids that are hustling, that are always on different teams. They're just anything they can do to find a gig for next week. I was one of those guys. And at the time that I did it, which was 2010, I was fortunate enough that like a lot of the teams, the Roushes, the RCRs, Braun Racing was still a place, you know, Turner, like there was a lot of Xfinity and truck teams that had their own pit crews, unlike it is today. So there was a lot more opportunities to get seen on pit road because more people were looking for people to hire. Now the way pit stops have gone and the way teams have looked at how they do pit stops, like a lot of us Cup guys now who focus on the Cup Series, we lean down into those lower series, the Xfinity and Truck Series, and kind of fill those voids for some of those teams that can't afford to have a full-time pit crew.
So it worked out really well for you, though, because you've been at Hendrick Motorsports for a while. You've been on some of the best teams as well. Having a great season, by the way. Congratulations on all the success.
Thank you.
But it's an intense job. Like Heather and I were talking before you joined us, the intensity level of watching you guys doing your pit stops, that moment when the car is coming down pit road. I don't think that I could rise to the occasion in those situations. What is it really like, the intensity level? And I know you're used to it, but for people who don't know what that's like, can you explain?
So it is very intense. Every time I get on the wall for the first stop, every weekend, whether it's Xfinity Series, whether it's the Cup Series, whether it's a Truck Series, you always have that uneasy feeling that like, oh man, here we go. Like you don't really know how it's going to go. You know, like you have all the intentions of doing the best pit stops you can. You try not to think about all the bad things that can go wrong, but still you get those butterflies every time you get on the wall for the first one, that it's like, all right, this one's the one that's going to set the precedent for the day. How are we going to be? So you try to just focus and when that feeling goes away, that nervous feeling, then it becomes too comfortable. And that's when you need a reality check. Like, why are you too comfortable? So it should be a stressful situation. It should be a pressure pack situation because pit road it's a sum zero game. In order for us to gain a spot, somebody has to lose a spot. So no one wants to lose spots on pit road. So the intensity is really jacked up because you're trying to go and take that spot away from somebody else. You can't rely on, other teams to make mistakes because it's not often that these teams now, especially at the Cup level, are making mistakes. With the one lug nut pit stop, the mistake percentage has gone down. So now it's all about a matter of you have to step up and you have to be better than everybody else. And the pressure of that alone is enough to, get your juices flowing when you get ready to go over the wall.
Yeah, we talked about that on one of our shows. Kaitlyn and I, we have a similar adrenaline rush that happens right before we go live on TV. And I feel like it was kind of similar to what you just said. So that's really cool insight. But I have to go back to a stop you guys made. It was earlier in the year. We are at Phoenix, 2-tire stop. I'm not going to use the code word and give away what the code word was because I know what it is. I know what you're going to do when you say it. However, you jumped from the right side of the tire. Once you put those right side tires on, you jumped from the right side of the hood of the car all the way across to a pit wall as William Byron took off. Now, I heard that you guys had a special agreement. So kind of walk through how you and William decided to do that, and then also, I mean, are you not worried that that he could just run you over? Like, what kind of trust does that take to be able to do what you did?
All right, so I have to I'll paint a picture of what happened. So this goes back to a week before when we were at Vegas. We come down for the last pit stop of the race. The call is 2 tires, and when they have to take 2 tires, the only person who has to get back to the left side of the car is the front tire changer, myself, because I have the pit gun. The driver can't run over the hose. You can't throw the pit gun back to the wall. So I have to get that pit gun back to the left side of the car. So we, as a pit crew, we practice this. And we've talked about this with William before, but as soon as the car drops on the right side, a lot of drivers, the jackman might give they might give the front tire changer a step or two to let him get going. Maybe the driver, doesn't get on the gas right away to let the front changer get out of the way a little bit. And at Vegas, the pit boxes are very slick. So there's really no traction for the drivers to leave. So I told Spencer, who was our jackman, we were running second to the 5 car. And I knew the only way that we could, win this race, because it didn't matter which one of us was out front, whether it was the 5 or the 24, whoever got the better restart, had the position, was going to maintain it and win the race. So I told Spencer, hey, as soon as I get up, drop the car. He's like, okay. So as soon as I got up off the right front, he dropped the car, and the tire's spinning, doesn't get a lot of traction, gets going. It wasn't really close for me to get by, and we ended up going and winning the race. So the next week, we go to Phoenix, late in the race, same play call, 2 tires. And I had told William earlier in the week after Vegas, I said, hey, you don't have to be slow getting out of the box just because I'm running right there. Like, as soon as the car drops, go. I'll be out of the way, and at worst case scenario, I'll just end up on the hood, just stay in the gas. I'll roll off to the side. It'll be fine. Because
you can't throw the gun across or run over the hose. But if you hit your pit crew member, that ain't no big deal. We're good.
Not a penalty.
No penalty.
Not if you hit your
taking one for the team.
Not if you hit your own pit crew member. It's not a penalty. Right. So we go to Phoenix. A lot more grip in the pit boxes. Again, we didn't have the lead, so it was one of those positions where I told Spencer, I said, hey, same thing as last week. He nodded. He's like, okay. So as soon as we get that right front on, I'm not even off my knees yet. And I see the car drop, and I'm like, oh, no, I got to go. So I got up, took one step, started to run away from the car. Now William's got traction, and he's coming right for me. And the worst thing you can do is have your feet on the ground when you're going to get hit by a car, because the splitters are so low, there's no room. So if you can just get your feet off the ground, you can get on top of the hood and maybe roll off to the side. And so I got the position. The car got to within a couple inches, and I knew the best thing for me was just to jump and hope I get out of the way. And again, that was the play call, the race call, the 2 tires, getting out of the way. William not hesitating at all to stay in the gas, and me being able to jump out of the way, which propelled us to go win 2 in a row.
That is
so
pretty
awesome.
wild. Yeah.
I like that. Go ahead, Kaitlyn. We're both like, I don't know what's happening.
It's just the whole choreography to it. The fact that you even know that about how the best way to get hit is interesting to me, because there is a danger factor to this. I think people forget that there is a lot of risk when it comes to what you guys do every single week. How do you manage that? Or is it something that you actively think about, or is it just something you've grown accustomed to knowing could always present itself?
So we're out there, the safety gear that we get a helmet, which is no more than maybe a skateboard helmet or a really, really light motocross helmet at the thickest. We have a pair of knee pads, some SFI gloves, and some fireproof shoes. We don't really have anything that's like impact. The drivers are strapped in. They have all the safety stuff around them, and we're just out there on pit road, playing in traffic with other race cars around.
Playing in traffic.
So, NASCAR has done a really good job since I started. This is my 14th season. So NASCAR has done a really good job over those 14 years and even before that of implementing a lot of things on pit road to keep pit crew guys safer. But inevitably it happens every year. Someone gets hit, something happens. There's always a scary moment on pit road. you don't want to be that person. You also try not to think about it, because if you think about all the bad things that could happen when you jump over the wall, it kind of clouds your judgment of making good decisions or keeping an open mind or a clear mind to be able to react to situations. So I try not to think about it as much. I know the risk is there. I've had my fair share of injuries pitting race cars over those 14 years, but it's not something I actively think about, week in and week out.
You were talking about the plays, and this was something that I wanted to ask you, because obviously in football there's a lot of plays you have to know, and there's code words. I'm not going to give away your code word for that 2-tire stop, but
it's probably changed 6 times since
it's
then.
probably changed, yeah. I know. Well, I was saying, because I was with Jamie Little at that time, and I kind of looked at one of your teammates. I think it might have been Patton, and me and Jamie were both going 2 tires, and he's like, he wouldn't give it, give it to us. But I remembered from Vegas, because I remembered hearing that code word in Vegas, so that's how I knew who it was. But anyways, how many plays do you guys have to know, going into a race?
It's the basics. You have your 4 tires, you have right side tires, left side tires, gas only. Those are really the 4 major plays that you need to know. Most places we go to, there's not a guessing game. Like, we were at Darlington last weekend. We're going to Kansas this weekend. It's going to be 4 tires pretty much every single time. The situations change a lot. Cars coming in and out of pit road, guys pitting around you, going long, stopping short, adjustments. There's a lot of little things that maybe aren't plays per se, but they're definitely situations that we practice and we're ready for whenever they arise.
Well, you've been talking about the fact that you've been 14 years in. This season has been amazing for you guys. As I mentioned, one of the best teams all year long. Has it been one of the best of your career so far, would you say?
This probably ranks with top 2. Could be this top season. It depends. I don't know. I've been fortunate in the last few years. You know this. I've been on some really good pit crews. I was on an 18 pit crew for 4 years, from 18 to 21. On that pit crew, we won 17, 18 races, a cup championship, 2 mechanics wears, which are what us pit crew guys go for. A lot of race wins. I never thought I was going to be on another pit crew like that. You have those. It's not often you get to be on 2 really good teams on pit road. Usually you get you get a couple good years out of it, and then that's what you get. But being on this team, super fortunate. We're really fast on pit road. I'd rack us up with anybody else on pit road. I know we're going to beat them 9 times out of 10, if not 10 out of 10. And, Rudy's making great calls. Williams doing a great job racing. So, yeah, championships definitely within our grasp this year. The mechanics were definitely within our grasp. A couple more race wins this year. It's Williams on the upslope of his career. So it's going to be great for the next couple of years.
I always find it interesting, too, because a lot of you are on different teams but have worked together before. So I'm sure there's some friendly rivalries and competition happening. Is there a lot of smack talk going on? Because that's what I really need to know.
You might play some games with some people, but everyone thinks that they're on the best pit crew.
What kind of games? What kind of games?
Just everyone thinks that they're on the best pit crew, but at the end of the day, you could just go look at the number sheet. We're the best pit crew on pit road. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
We've all been doing it a long time. We're all really good at the position we do. And yeah, people want to talk.
So you just say scoreboard.
Yeah. How many spots did you guys gain last week? How many spots did you lose? Okay. Yeah. What was your time? Got it. Yeah.
So we were talking about this earlier. Should we bring back the old pit crew challenge? Because I vote yes. It was such a cool event. I miss seeing it. Remember?
I disagree. I don't like it. I did not.
Shut down.
Shut down. Totally. I thought for sure you'd be on my side on this.
No. So actually, the pit crew challenge was not. It wasn't a pit crew. It kind of was a pit crew challenge, but it was mostly of how well could you push the car after you did your task as the front changer, rear changer, jackman, whatever. I think NASCAR, with the way they did the pit crew challenge this year, was a step in the right direction. I think there's some things they can do. So they want to I understand what NASCAR wants to do. You want to make it where the pit stop and the driver have an impact to determine the qualifying position for whatever, right? The All-Star race. But if the driver does something, that jeopardizes us being able to do a good pit stop on pit road, whether getting in the box, not stopping on the mark, doing all these things, it hinders us, and it's not a good representation of what we do. So if the driver were to, let's say, speed on pit road from that 10 away mark, he could lose the pole position, but it wouldn't affect the pit crew's ability to do their pit stop and their overall, pride and going up and waving and getting the trophy. So I think there's a way we can do it, which is good for both the pit crew and the driver and the spectacle of the All-Star race. I think this year was a step in the right direction. So we'll see what next year holds.
There you go. I stand corrected, Heather. He did not agree with me.
It's okay. We can still wish and dream about it, but that's all right. But let's have some fun. Kaitlyn, we have rapid fire questions for him today. So go ahead and shoot him his way.
Yeah. 5 lugs or 1?
1.
What'd you say? Okay. Favorite race day snack?
Oh, this has changed over the years. It used to be peanut butter and pickles.
Oh, my.
What?
Yeah.
What? I love that. Okay, expand just a little. Peanut butter,
right.
dipping them in the peanut butter?
No, it's a peanut butter and pickle sandwich.
Oh, wow.
Blake eats
I've
that
heard
too.
of banana and mayonnaise, but not peanut butter and pickle.
Peanut butter and
so
pickle
what
sandwich.
is it currently then?
It's an ice cream after the race.
Oh, an
Like
ice
an
cream.
ice
Yeah,
cream
you
cone?
treat
Yep.
yourself.
Nice.
What's the last song you listened to? You know?
I don't know.
Or you could say the artist, maybe.
Probably
was it
Fall Out
likely?
Boy.
There you go.
Probably a Fall Out Boy song.
What do you think your last Google search was? Can you
Probably,
say?
yeah, it's some hunting material for Montana.
There you go.
Yep.
Fill in the blank. William Byron is what? ...
Dorky.
Dorky.
Don't take that the wrong way.
Oh gosh, I love it. All right.
He's, I'm 11 years older than him. He's a young kid. He's got his
Yes.
things. He's a good
Yes.
kid.
What's worse, working the hottest race of the year or the coldest?
Oh, the hottest.
I bet. Yeah. Probably Indy. What makes you feel nervous?
First pit stop.
I don't blame you.
Oh, and
Bristol
there's
is...
also another one. When the driver goes, I have a vibration.
Oh, yeah.
As a tire changer, even if the wheels are tight, the pit of your stomach falls.
I bet. That's interesting because that was a conversation after this past weekend. All right, Bristol is coming up. What would be your intro song?
Probably like Hell's Bells.
Nice. I like
Good
that.
choice.
Good one.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Get that place
What would
rocking.
Yeah. What would you do if you won $1 million today? What you doing? That $1 million.
Be debt free.
I like it. Hey, we'll hope that maybe you win the lotto or something.
Yeah.
I got to play to win, but
Yes. If you don't play, you can't win. I think their motto is something like that. But you mentioned your Google search, so let's talk about hunting just a little bit because that's where I was really interested. I think you have your own YouTube channel, and I think I watched maybe 4 or 5 of your videos yesterday, especially the ones where you were elk hunting solo, because I've been elk hunting. It's a lot of walking. Very interesting. So talk about how you got into archery, because you do competitions and then you also bow hunt.
I was late picking up the archery bug. I didn't do it until I was 28 years old, so it was about 7 years ago. It turned in, I don't know. The guys when I was working at RCR, it was a long drive in the car. And the 2 guys I rode with or I carpooled with, they would always talk about hunting when hunting season came up and bow hunting and, all these deer that they had scouted out that they were going to go try to shoot this year. And it sounded, it's not something I grew up doing in Connecticut, but it sounded really fun. And I kind of like the aspect of it, providing for your family, going and get, an organic meat that's, out in the wild, and then being a part of the whole process from killing the animal to dressing it to processing it to then eating it on the table. And maybe it's just me, but anytime I do that, the meat I eat, it tastes a little bit better, whether it's the way I care for it or maybe because I know what it took to get that meat and to be able to put it on the table. So you take things for granted less. So I kind of got into archery hunting because the way the seasons work, it was the longest season I had to hunt. And I kind of just, at the time where I was living, I couldn't shoot a rifle in my backyard, but I could shoot a bow. So I was like, yeah, I'll just start picking up a bow. Sounds like fun. And then that was just a rabbit hole. I just got into that. And it's every year I've just gotten better and just compounded and just put more things on top of it and more things on top of it. And then last year I got to the point where I was like, well, I'm going to get into competition archery because I can't not compete. That's the one thing I love about pit stops and racing is everything's a competition in racing. Whether it's who can get to the racetrack first, who can get the pit box set up first, who can do the pit stops the best, who's going to win the race, who's going to get to the plane first. It's just everything,
Yes,
everyone in racing, it's just a competition. So, the couple months that I'm not competing, it's like, okay, how can I fill that void of competing more? And archery, competition archery was just, it was the easiest avenue for me. But getting into the hunting and like the Western hunting, especially, is I grew up being in Boy Scouts, an Eagle Scout. So the camping and the being out in the woods, that is what I really like to do. Not that there's anything wrong with, deer hunting out east. You sit in a tree stand a lot. You're not really active. At least when you're hunting out west, you're doing a lot of moving, like you said, a lot of walking, a lot of chasing of animals, a lot of trying to put yourself in a better situation to be able to harvest that animal and bring it home. So I think it adds another layer to it and the complexity of it, and that to me was really appealing, and that's why I started going out west. I take that 1 week off that I don't know if a lot of people like it when I do it, but I do it anyways because I have the time to do it, and it's just something that I could have waited until I was done racing to kind of get into it when I had a little more time on my hands. But I want to do things now. I'm young. It's something that I want to do for a long time. So if I can only devote 4 or 5 days to it a year now, that's better than nothing and waiting 10 years. So I'll invest a little bit of time now and try to get good at it. So when I'm done with racing, maybe the YouTube thing turns into a full-time career for me.
Right. Yeah, you're super good on camera. I was very impressed. I remember saying that to you a while ago, that I enjoyed watching your videos and you just had a natural presence on camera. What's interesting is, yes, it's still competitive, right? But it couldn't be more different from your normal job, which is loud and like so much going on. And then you have hunting, it's like solitude. Is it kind of like the yin and yang for you? Like you're getting both craziness level here?
It's challenging in its own right. Just being quiet and being, when you go 2-3 miles off of a road and there's nobody within 2 or 3 miles of you and you're out there by yourself, it's
scary.
Definitely a different feeling, but it's an amazing feeling. And you're like, I'm out here. I'm going to have to deal with this. This is awesome. And then when you come back, just being back and, in civilization and getting to interact with people and taking a shower for the first time in a week, and the little things where you don't think about, like a good cup of coffee. Like you're just like, you enjoy things a little bit more. It kind of like brings you back down, and like the things that maybe you were stressed about or the little things that were kind of getting at you just don't get at you anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I can totally relate. I think one of the best things, or not best, but weirdest things that happened to me is I was turkey hunting. And so I'm sitting up on a ravine, the sun's coming up, and you have to get up at like 2 a.m. to get where you need to go, to walk to where you're going. And you're tired. So I fell asleep against a tree. And then I woke up and I looked to my right, and there was an elk. I'm not kidding you, 5 feet away from me, just looking at me. Now it was a cow. It wasn't a bull elk, so no big antlers or anything. But I thought, that could have been a bear. I could be dead right now. Like, why did I fall asleep here by myself? But it's unlike any other feeling I've ever had. Like you said, it can be scary at times because you go out there when it's dark because you're trying to get out there before the animals are moving around. And you're like, oh my gosh, what's out here with me? I don't know. But then there's just so much peace there. So I really enjoy it. But what would you say has been maybe your most memorable hunt, or what hunt are you most looking forward to doing?
I have a hunt coming up in 12 days, going back out to Montana. Yep.
Nice.
I don't really, anytime I can go, the last hunt I was on was probably like, not the last one, but any of my last hunts that I was on, it was probably my most memorable one. It's just anytime I can get that opportunity to go out there. I haven't done something that's been like so awesome or extravagant that's going to get a 1,000 clicks on YouTube or Instagram, but just being out there for myself and just being able to enjoy it. Yeah, that's always memorable for me. Just having those opportunities to, be healthy enough to go out and do it.
I feel like the nerves, though, that you were talking about, this is just something that I was interested in. What would be more nerve-wracking to you, that final pit stop, like at the Championship 4 race, or a bull elk standing broadside to you in your last afternoon on your tag? Which heart rate is higher?
Oh, that is tough.
Yeah.
Probably the bull on the last day. Yeah. I mean, it's not
having
like
to calm down your breath, like that's intense.
Yeah, because for me, making that shot on that bull elk would be, it's a life or death situation for that animal. You want to make a good, ethical, clean shot. You don't want to, that's way worse than if I screw up a pit stop, last one at the final 4, like that's way less nerve-wracking, or that's going to carry less with me than, harming an animal and not being able to give it a clean, quick kill. That would weigh on me a lot more, I think, than making a bad pit stop. We do a lot of pit stops. I'm going to do more pit stops in the future. You make good decisions, bad decisions, but at the end of the day, it's just positions on the racetrack and not the other way. You're playing with life or death, and you want to make sure you make the right decision.
You have so many different avenues of your life going on. It's very interesting. And we ask every guest, though, that comes on here, what fuels you? What fuels you the most, would you say, in your life?
Probably what fuels me the most is having the opportunities and being able to take the risks and do the things that are fulfilling to me, and my family. I'd never want to be the person who plays the shoulda, woulda, coulda game. I should have done this, or I should have done that, or I didn't want to do this because I was afraid if I didn't succeed, like people wouldn't like me, or something wouldn't happen, or I'd feel like a failure. I would much rather go after something, a dream, an idea, a design, than sit back and look at it 5 years from now and be like, man, I should have done that sooner, or I should have just tried. Because at the end of the day, everyone fails at something, so there's no sense in, not trying to go after it.
Some wise words there. Hi, I'm a big fan of you, a big fan of your wife. We really appreciate you coming on here today, and it's been awesome to watch you guys this season, and we're hoping that it goes well the next 9 weeks.
9 more weeks.
All right, well, Jeff was awesome. What a great guest. It was so interesting hearing him talk about, like, your question about that particular pit stop, and everything that really does go into that job is pretty fascinating.
Yes, I was glad we were able to dive a little bit deeper on some of that stuff, because I definitely learned a lot from what he was saying. And it's just so interesting, especially that pit stop. Like you said, like just him telling the whole story of how that transpired was really cool. And I mean, I could have talked to him all day about hunting, but that was just for me personally, because I geek out a little bit about that since I'm into that as well. So that was really cool to be able to catch up with him on all the things. But he was great. Really enjoyed it. We got to do, I think we should do more pit crew members and more people like that throughout our podcast, just so that we can kind of highlight some of the hidden heroes, if you will. Unsung heroes, exactly. That people they are aware of them, but they just don't get the opportunity to really get to know them. So I think we should continue that for sure.
And I've known him for years, but I am very impressed with like his career. He talked about his time with Kyle Busch, and now, of course, his time at Hendrick with William Byron. And to his point, like that doesn't always happen where you have that much success on 2 separate teams throughout the course of your career. So he is doing big things, it seems like. Very cool to have him join us. So we got to do our pit whip, what we're looking forward to in the coming days. What say you, Heather DeBeaux?
Well, I got Kansas Speedway. So Kansas Speedway. I don't know why I said it like that, but I always look forward to going there. It's always a good race. There's multiple lines, which I like the best, and then they can kind of move around. Passing is good there. So I'm getting to work a double header that day, double duty. I'm pit reporting both ARCA and trucks, so it's going to be a very busy day for me. Hoping it's not too hot, because we've already talked about that. But yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. What do you got going on?
I'm looking forward to Kansas as well. We obviously have pre-race coverage for the trucks coming up this weekend. It's their first elimination race, if you can believe that. We're already eliminating people. So it's going to be interesting. Ben Rhodes is below the cut line right now. Obviously, he's a past champ. I'm curious if he will make his way above the cut line. We're going to find out. So definitely looking forward to Kansas also this weekend, with it being that first cutoff race for the truck series. So should be interesting.
Yes, it'll be fun. Well, I'm looking forward to our next podcast too.
That's right. I'm looking forward to that as well, as always. It's been fun, like it always is here on Mics Are Hot. Until next time, we'll see you soon, I hope.
See ya.